A rat page. Yes, I am wearing a robe. It is cold up here. My husband has the AC cranked down. It's all cloudy outside because we got a dang tropical storm sitting over us. So I have resorted to desperate measures. I also am wrapped up in a fuzzy blanket and I have a dog in my lap. Just thundered a few minutes ago, which is kind of fitting for discussing the fourth and final short story in the If It Bleeds collection by Stephen King, which is Rat. It's taken me a while to film this because I really wasn't sure what I thought about this short story. Rat is definitely my least favorite of the four in this collection, but I think it's because I didn't like the main character at all. So the main character is Drew Larson. So he's a teacher, but he is also an author. Where the story begins, he's got a couple of short stories published. He's had a little small measure of fame from those, but his burning desire is to write an actual novel. Drew has previously tried to write a full-length novel. It didn't go well. The information that we get, he basically had a nervous breakdown. He, in a fit of rage, burned the manuscript and almost ended up burning the house down. So, of course, when he gets struck with the inspiration for this new novel, his wife is of course understandably alarmed, especially because he wants to go to their remote cabin up on a mountain to do this. Like, he wants to go for like 2 to 3 weeks, get the major groundwork laid, and then maybe come home and finish. I mean, but he is just feeling it. This is the one, the words are there. I mean, he is in this world. From what we see of that book, it's kind of like a Western thriller. He gets to the cabin, he's setting in, he's got his routine that he goes through as he prepares to write each day. The words are flowing, the pages are stacking, everything's going great until it's not. He kind of finds himself in familiar territory of when his previous novel fell apart. He's just having difficulties choosing which words he wants to use to describe things. I mean, I guess I just never thought about it, but I think Stephen King kind of used this story to illustrate how hard it is to write, to be an author, to have so many choices of words and just picking which one's the right one, which ones are the right ones to make the magic happen for the reader. And I never really took that into consideration, and it made me feel really bad. So I have to appreciate him bringing that understanding to me that people don't just sit down and crank out books and it just be easy. So let me just stop right there and remind you, I said I did not like Drew Larson. He is very rude to his wife. He lies to her knowingly. He also, I mean, it's just kind of like, Drew, I understand you want to write a book. That is something that you just feel like you have to do in your life, but you also have to remember you are providing for your family. You do have a job. You've got kids, young kids. You don't want to just pick up and leave your wife to deal with that. And also, you're just potentially missing out on so many firsts in your kids' lives. He's telling her, I'm just gonna go for 2 weeks, but he's packing for potentially staying longer. He's very selfish. I mean, I guess that's just the reality of human nature. I did not like Drew at all. When he's preparing to go to his cabin and he stops by the store, the things that he thinks about the older gentleman that's waiting on him. I mean, he is just judging this guy left and right. I know you're going to notice things about other people. Understand that you're not that person. You don't know what happened in their lives that brought them to where they are today, whether it is their own choosing or not. Have a little understanding. I didn't like it. I guess I didn't like that being pointed out. I don't enjoy reading that type of thing. He is on that laptop. He is clacking them keys and stacking them pages. Clacking and stacking, clacking and stacking. Everything's going great until it doesn't. He starts to realize that he's not feeling so great. It's just his health is continuing to decline. Come to find out, the gentleman who waited on him at the store when he arrived had the flu. He didn't bother to go to the doctor. It progressed into pneumonia and he died. Drew shook his hand at the store that day and he's like, oh man, I've got the flu. And so while he's mindful of, okay, I need to not make the same mistake and let it get into pneumonia, he's not willing to leave the cabin until he gets to a certain point with this book. And because he's kind of entered into the phase where he's struggling with his words, he's kind of at an impasse. Well, on top of that, there's a huge nor'easter blowing in, huge storm coming. And he's on this mountain, so he has a limited time where he can make a decision to leave, or he is pretty much assuredly going to be trapped there. Of course, he blows off the concerns of his wife, and then about the time he realizes he probably should leave, it's too late. So the storm hits, here's a scratching on the door, opens it, it's a half-dead rat that he figures must have come from his shed out there that a tree had just fallen on. He briefly considers just going and get the fire poker from the fireplace and putting it out of his misery, has a change of heart and decides to bring it in, and he puts it in front of the heater to try and warm it up. He ends up going to bed. The rat's pretty much just laying there, just kind of flipping his little hand ever so often, and he thinks it's just gonna die. So he wakes up, the rat is no longer in front of the heater. He's chilling like a villain, like, hey man, what's up? Like, he talks to Drew. Briefly summarize their conversation. The rat tells Drew, in return for saving his life, he will help him finish his book, but in order to do so, someone has to die. And Drew at first is like, wait, what? Why? And he was like, who? And the rat was like, well, I'm thinking about your buddy Al Stamper who has pancreatic cancer. I mean, he's gonna die anyway, why not? And Drew, like, only briefly considers this and agrees. Remember, I don't like Drew. Is it becoming clear why? So it seems Drew's fever breaks, he's getting better from the flu or the pneumonia, whatever he's got, cranks out this book, ends up getting published. He makes like 350 grand off of it. But his friend Al Stamper is still doing fine. As a matter of fact, he's getting better. It's like his cancer is in remission. Then all of a sudden he gets the news that Al and his wife died in a car accident. And all of a sudden he is awash with guilt and it's like, oh, I am never writing another book in my life. And my buddy read this with some friends. We were talking about it and we're kind of, I think we all pretty much almost have different standpoints. I don't believe the rat was real. When Drew was cleaning up the cabin to leave, the toy box had been knocked over and he was picking all the toys up and put them back in, and he actually found a stuffed rat. And I'm sure Stephen King wrote it this way for different interpretations, but I think Drew was I think he was delirious with fever from the flu. I think he saw the stuffed rat on the floor, and I think his subconscious realized that he was about to lose his shit again on this book because he was having trouble finding his words. I think his subconscious realized that he was about to potentially go off the deep end, and to protect him, conjured this rat that he has this conversation in order for Drew to maybe relax and maybe feel like something else is in control and making the decisions to get this book written, because supposedly Drew's just wanting to get this one book written and he's gonna be happy forever. That's not how people like Drew work. No. This selfish joker just dropped his kids and his wife to go write this book. I mean, all of the selfish things he has done in this story, and then all of a sudden, I'm not gonna write another book. This deal I made with a rat that may or may not have actually happened. I'm not gonna write another book after you made 350 grand. No, people like Drew, they make 350 grand. They want to make more. And if you write a book that makes that much money, your agent is going to be crawling your tail to write another one. It's just not realistic. I just hated, I didn't like, I just didn't like, I didn't like the ending. It's not realistic. This selfish jerk is gonna write more books, you know, and just like in his mind that the rat was real and he made that agreement that Al could die in order to have this book, he would do it again. And besides, I mean, bro, it was a car accident. There was nothing, like there was no talk of investigation in the story to indicate that it was foul play. It was probably just a freak accident. I mean, if the story had said something like there was, there was an investigation and the brake lines had been chewed, looked like by a rodent, indicated the rat, what do y'all think? Who's read this? Who's read this story? I need you to hit me up in the comments. Tell me what you think. Do you think the rat was real? Or do you think it was Drew's subconscious trying to protect him from another mental breakdown? And maybe his subconscious is the one that told him, all right, if you write books, you're going to kill people. And that way, Drew won't try to write anymore to where he has the trouble losing his words, thereby putting his mental health at risk. Super interested to hear what you guys think. Those are my rampant, raging, roundabout thoughts around this short story by Stephen King. Even though I don't know what to think about this story, I still hope you enjoyed this video. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.